Once, upon a time, in a rain-soaked province of old Japan, there lived a young samurai named Haruto who dreamed of becoming the greatest warrior in the land. And when I say dreamed, I mean he was excellent at dreaming. Olympic level. If talking about discipline burned calories, Haruto would have had abs carved by the gods themselves. He spent hours speaking about his plans. He read stories of legendary battles. He imagined himself standing on misty hills, sword in hand, robe moving in the wind, enemies trembling, villagers whispering. There goes Haruto, the man who definitely trained very hard. He dreamed of mastering every weapon, the katana, the bow, the spear, probably even chopsticks if someone called them a weapon loudly enough. He wanted to learn advanced strategies, win glorious victories, and bring honor to his clan. And he truly believed that because his ambition was strong, greatness would naturally arrive. Like a delivery package. No training required. Just dream hard enough and maybe the universe knocks on the door with success wrapped in silk. But when the time came to train, Haruto suddenly became a master of excuses. The weather was wrong. Too hot, too cold, too windy, too emotionally complicated. Some mornings he said he did not feel well. Other mornings he decided he needed to plan more carefully before beginning, because apparently sharpening a sword required 3 scrolls, 2 diagrams, and a small committee. He told himself, "Tomorrow I will begin seriously." Tomorrow came. Haruto bowed politely to tomorrow and moved it to next week. Years passed. His dreams grew larger. His skills stayed small, painfully small. Younger warriors trained every day. They sweated. They fell. They got up. They repeated boring movements until their arms shook and their pride quietly left the room. And soon they surpassed him. Haruto watched boys who once asked him for advice now move faster than him, strike cleaner than him, and stand with the calm confidence of people who had actually done the work. That was when he understood a painful truth. His dreams had not lifted him higher. They had made him weaker. His ambition without action had left him frustrated, unprepared, and full of regret, which is a very dramatic way of saying, thinking about push-ups does not build chest muscles. This story reveals something uncomfortable about human nature. Haruto believed that strong ambition and clear goals would naturally push him to act. He thought wanting something badly enough would turn him into the kind of person who did the hard work. But his identity as a dreamer created a gap between what he desired and what he was willing to do. He found comfort in imagining the future rather than enduring the discomfort of daily practice. The fantasy was warm. The training yard was cold. The fantasy made him feel powerful. The training yard made him feel slow, clumsy, and slightly betrayed by his own knees. And like many people, Haruto discovered that motivation cannot bridge the gap between wanting and doing. In fact, the more he spoke about his plans without acting, the more his mind rewarded him as if he had already achieved something. Every time he said, "I will become a great warrior," his brain gave him a tiny clap. Very dangerous, because the brain loves applause, even when it has done absolutely nothing to earn it. His dreams became a trap. His inaction became his downfall. The samurai understood how dangerous this gap between wanting and doing can be. Dreams without action quietly waste time. They do not shout. They do not break the door. They simply sit beside you, nodding politely, while the years disappear. And time once lost does not come back just because you finally bought a new notebook and wrote "My Transformation Era" on the first page. The larger our goals are, the easier it becomes to feel overwhelmed by their distance. We stare at the mountain peak and think, that is very far. Then we sit down. Then we plan. Then we watch someone else climb. Then we say, I was just about to start. We tell ourselves preparation is progress. Sometimes it is. But often, preparation is procrastination wearing a fancy robe. We keep adjusting the plan because the plan feels safer than the work. The scroll is clean. The sword practice is embarrassing. Centuries ago, the great swordsman Miyamoto Musashi understood this truth. He did not try to transform his life in one grand burst of inspiration. He devoted himself to small, steady actions performed every day. Musashi knew greatness was not built through one dramatic morning where the sun rises, the birds sing, and suddenly, you become disciplined forever. That would be convenient, also suspicious. Greatness is built through repetition, quiet repetition, boring repetition, the kind of repetition where nobody is watching, nobody is clapping, and your body is asking why you hate peace. The samurai may be remembered for dramatic battles, flashing blades, and intense stares across moonlit fields. But they became strong through humble daily practice. They trained not when they felt ready. They trained because training was their way of life. Waiting for motivation before beginning is like waiting for perfect weather before starting a journey. You may wait forever. Meanwhile, someone else puts on wet sandals, walks through the rain, complains a little, and still reaches the destination before you. The truth is this: motivation is not usually the spark that creates action. More often, motivation is the flame that follows action. You move first, then momentum arrives, then energy appears. Then your brain says, "Wait, we are doing this? Fine, I will help." Action brings momentum. Momentum creates the feeling we mistake for inspiration. The people who achieve the most are not the ones who feel inspired every day. They are the ones who act even when they do not feel like it, which is annoying, but also true. The samurai captured this principle in the teaching of Kaizen, the way of small improvements. The mountain is climbed one step at a time, not by staring at the peak and wishing your legs would teleport. Even if the steps seem small, they lead to strength because they are repeated. Even if progress feels slow, it builds into mastery because it does not stop. Imagine a young samurai student who feels too lazy to train. He wakes up. His blanket is warm. The morning air is cold. His sword sits across the room looking judgmental. Everything in him says, no, but he chooses to practice one sword form. Just one. Not a heroic training montage. Not 6 hours of sweating under a waterfall while chanting ancient wisdom. One form. His friends laugh. They say, that tiny effort is useless. And maybe at first it looks useless. One movement does not make a warrior. One morning does not change a life. One push-up does not make anyone look heroic unless they are very committed to camera angles. But he continues. Every morning, one form becomes familiar, then automatic. His body grows stronger. His technique becomes sharper. His discipline deepens. Months later, he discovers he has built a foundation. Now he can learn advanced skills with ease. Meanwhile, his friends are still waiting for motivation to arrive, possibly on a horse, carrying a banner, with dramatic music behind it. In this way, the smallest step can carry more power than the grandest plan. The lesson is clear. Preparation without practice is disguised procrastination. Talking without doing creates the illusion of progress while leaving you unchanged. Waiting for motivation is handing control of your future to your emotions. And emotions are terrible managers. They are moody. They cancel meetings. They change direction after lunch. The samurai knew that strength does not lie in feeling ready. Strength lies in acting despite resistance. Yagyu Munenori, one of the great samurai teachers, once said, "The sword that waits for perfect conditions never leaves its sheath." And honestly, that sword sounds very comfortable, very safe, also completely useless. If you wait for the right moment, you may wait forever. Our need for motivation often comes from fear. We fear the discomfort of starting when we are tired. We fear the resistance of continuing when we lack energy. We fear that our efforts will not feel rewarding right away. We want discipline to feel noble. Sometimes it does not. Sometimes discipline feels like getting out of bed while your soul is still negotiating. Sometimes it feels like doing the boring thing while your brain offers 17 better ideas, including reorganizing your desk, making tea, checking messages, and suddenly researching whether samurai had skincare routines. But discipline is not about avoiding these feelings. It is about moving through them. True strength is not the ability to act when conditions are perfect. True strength is the ability to act when conditions are not. The samurai way to break laziness is simple, but deep. Begin with small daily actions, no matter how insignificant they seem. Do not wait to feel ready. Readiness is often an illusion. Do not place your trust in emotion. Feelings are temporary. One minute they want greatness. The next minute they want snacks and a nap. Place your trust in habits and commitments. Those are the things that build the foundation of achievement. As the warriors once said, "I am not controlled by my feelings. I am guided by my commitments." Strength does not mean saying, "I feel like doing this." Strength means saying, "I will do this whether I feel like it or not." That is the power to act without waiting for motivation. And that is the power to shape your life. Not in one dramatic moment. Not with a grand speech. Not by announcing your destiny to everyone within hearing distance. But by taking one small step, then another, until one day, the person you once only imagined becomes the person standing in your place. Sword in hand, feet steady, no longer dreaming about the path, walking it.